What you doing?
Looking for something, but I can't find it, so. Welcome. Welcome here to Church of the Beatitudes, where we are always looking for something. Thank you so much for joining us. Those of you who are here in person, those of you who are watching us online, we are grateful that you have taken the time to be here with us today. And we would like to share with you some of the things that's happening in the life of Church of the Beatitudes.
Yeah. Did you see the foyer?
I did.
On the way in? It's
Yes.
amazing.
And over here, the cornucopia. And
the familiar is coming back, guys.
Yeah, different elements are slowly coming back into it, and that's exciting.
So, Faith and Action's food drive. If you missed bringing it in today was the last day, but you can still donate monies if you want. So on your way out, drop a check in the donation plates outside, made to Church of the Beatitudes, but write Nourish Phoenix in the memo line, and we'll get it to them. Also, if you missed out on this opportunity, Faith in Action has 2 more coming up next Sunday, guys. Socks.
Yes.
It was boots last week. It's
Yes.
socks this week.
Okay, what about socks?
Holiday Socks. It's a sock drive for Shoebox Ministry, and that will begin next Sunday, so you can bring new men's and women's socks. None of your used ones, please.
I won't bring any used ones.
Okay, thank you. And you can drop them. There will be a bin for you out in the foyer. Also, we're talking Christmas already. Ready?
I know, middle of November.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stephen reminded me of that.
Okay. So next Sunday, there's going to be a tree. We're having a tree already.
Wow.
In the foyer. And Faith in Action will have on this tree gift tags, because we are going to bring Christmas to 2 deserving families at Maryland School. And these gift tags, I want you to grab one, and it's got the children's names and their ages on it, and you can help us shop for them for Christmas. So bring your gifts back by December the 12th. And last, I want to point out in Terabang on Zoom. It's still meeting.
Fantastic.
Online.
Are they meeting this week?
They are meeting on Monday at 6 o'clock. And our own Ellie Hutchison, our member in discernment, she will be leading the discussion. It's going to be a discussion about the roots of liberation and womanist theology. So it should be really exciting. You want to check that out. And as always, please sign up for my emails. You can do that by going to the website at beatitudeschurch.org, and there's a big orange button. Click it, and you'll be hooked up. So, anything else?
Yeah, we've got 2 things to bring to your attention.
What?
This coming Sunday, a week from today, at 8:45, we are offering an alternative form of worship. And it is taking place over in the lounge. For those of you who are unfamiliar, that is in Nelson Hall. And what we do there is we call it Monodia. It starts at 8:45, and the reason the name Monodia is the first part is monologue. So we are sharing, instead of a sermon, we're calling it a monologue, and then afterwards we will have a discussion. And during the monologue, you can share your comments either by writing them down on a piece of paper, or you can bring your cell phone and you can text your questions and comments to us. And what we're doing is we're creating a podcast that is creating a worship that is for the ears. So individuals, for example, who are looking for a way of experiencing a different form of worship. Let's say they wouldn't be comfortable in a traditional worship like we have here at 10:30. This is another opportunity for them not only to hear a subject being discussed, but also then hear a dialogue taking place. So if you would like to join us, you can do so by being here at about 8:35, 8:40, and we go live on the air at 8:45, and it lasts until 9:30. And then at 9:30, we have a discussion that will take place, and that usually anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So that if you have a Sunday where you would still like to come and participate, but you've got another commitment, this is an opportunity to come early. Or, just for fun fact, there are actually 2 different sermons. So what you hear at 8:30 and what you hear at 10:30 are totally different. So it's for those of you who maybe want to double dip on a given Sunday, this is your opportunity to do so. The other one to bring to your attention is, unfortunately, a individual who was a member, grew up here at Church of the Beatitudes, is passed away, and that is Jeff Grobe. He is the brother of Lori and Lisa Grobe, and we are very sorry to hear of that news. And so please remember the Grobe family in your prayers. Today we are going to be focusing on the Beatitude, "Blessed are the peacemakers." The other day, I was driving down a road up in Scottsdale area, and I noticed a motorcycle and immediately got my attention. And I looked over and I saw his vest that he had on, and on the back it said, "Soldiers for Jesus." And that piqued my curiosity, so I went online, looked it up, and this is a group of individuals who are Christians and are committed to sharing what Jesus is about to other people. But what I find interesting, and I didn't have a chance to ask any individual who belongs to that group, but what I found interesting, intriguing actually, is that how do we talk about Jesus, who talks about being blessed are the peacemakers, and yet individuals saying that they are soldiers for Jesus? Now, I wanted to make sure that we weren't looking at military individuals who were a part of this bike club. Actually had nothing to do with the military. But how is it that in our society we have such a focus, and actually we are drawn to violence? How do we put that? How does that mesh with this idea of Jesus saying, "Blessed are those who strive to make peace"? How does those fit together? And what difference can it make in the quality of your life today and in the days to come by looking at how peaceful are you? That is our focus on this particular Sunday. This is your opportunity to allow yourself to become centered and to become present to this moment and open to the divine in whatever way you may end up experiencing that as you listen to this first song.
I give you praise, O great invisible God, for the moon in the space of a dark night, for a smile on the face in the sunlight. I give you praise, O great invisible God, for the sound of the storm on the window, for the morning adorned with a new snow, for the tears on the face of the old man, made clean by the grace of the good Lamb. Invisible God, and oh, I long to see your face, invisible, invisible God. All the works that you have made are clearly seen and plain as day, so mighty and tender. Oh Lord, let me remember, I see you everywhere, invisible God. In the seed that descends to the old earth and arises again in a new birth. In the sinner who sinks in the river and emerges again delivered. Invisible God, and oh, I long to see your face, invisible, invisible God. All the works that you have made more clearly seen and plain as day, so mighty and tender. Oh Lord, let me remember, oh, your power eternal, your nature divine. Oh, creation tells the tale that love is real and so alive. I feel you, I hear you, great God unseen, I see you. Invisible God, in the long cold death that the winter brings, in the sweet resurrection, spring. Invisible God.
I wholly identify with this week's Beatitude. It's from Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. I've taken several personality tests, from Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram to spiritual and strengths finders, and invariably the word peacemaker or stabilizer always seems to pop up for me. I'm also born in October, and I'm a Libra, and they're supposed to be about agreeable and seek balance. But maybe your personality is different. And maybe peace for you is just kind of a myth or a cliche. What exactly is peace, and how can it be achieved? Gandhi once said, if you want to change the world, start with yourself. Can this same correlation also apply to realizing a state of peace in a world that's beset with divisiveness and separation? If external peace is only possible when rooted in individual inner peace, what steps can you take to be an activator of peace in your circle of influence? The Apostle Paul, he gave us the following idea for you to consider about it. It's from Colossians 1:20. And through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. So how can we achieve peace?
One of the things I truly enjoyed doing when I was in high school was seeing how fast I could get my Chevy Nova from 0 to 60. I would take my stopwatch, and as I would click on that button, I would just smash my foot down on the accelerator and see how long it would take me to go from 0 to 60. I think a lot of times we find this idea of going from 0 to 60 captured in the eye of our emotions. When you think about, for example, the emotion of anger, we can be just sitting there idling softly in our minds or at peace. But sometimes what can happen externally of us is almost as if someone is taking their foot and just smashing that accelerator and taking us from 0 to 60. And our feelings can go so quick. I don't know about you, but for me, one of the areas that I find this in particular is driving. It's amazing to me how quickly I can be just at peace, and then someone will do something, and then I immediately can just go whoop, and I can feel that inside myself. I don't know about you, but other times I can feel it sitting in a grocery line. I'm waiting for something to happen. I'm waiting to get my goods and check out. And then the line, for some reason that I choose, stalls. And I gotta wait. And I can, instead of going from 0 to 60 real quick, it's almost like this low simmer that's starting to build. Ask yourself, over the last year to year and a half, have you found your starting point, your idling point, to slowly have shifted? So, for example, perhaps right now, instead of being like at a 3 or a 4, that you kind of have that sense of peace and tranquility, and to get to all-out anger takes a lot longer for you in the past. Have you noticed that maybe since COVID, that you've seen it shift over, and maybe now you're like at a 5 or 6? And so to get upset about something, to get frustrated about something, and not even have to voice it out loud, but you feel it inside? Have you noticed that shift over, and it takes less for us to be triggered? If that's true for you, you're not alone. Some people think that one of the reasons why we're experiencing this is a form of trauma that we have gone through over the last year and a half, when we have been told consistently that our life is at risk, or the life of someone that we love and care for is at risk if they get COVID. And so there's this angst that continues to reside within us to keep ourselves and those that we love safe. And then when we see other individuals who aren't using the same measures that we're using to stay safe, it begins to trigger us. But unfortunately, that is rolling over into other areas of our lives. If you look at the amount of crime, the crime rate that is going up, the individuals who are being murdered is going up. Could it be that we have lost our starting point when it comes to a sense of peace? If it's true, then we should not be surprised that this is what happens in human beings. Some individuals, sociologists, and those who study evolution, actually believe that it is against our nature to be peaceful. Now, you may disagree, and scholars do disagree with each other when it comes to that, but there's this idea that to be peaceful and to have that state is not necessarily the norm for us. The challenge is, as many of us are finding, is that when we get triggered, we tend to stay there longer. So instead of getting angry and then letting it go, we tend to get angry and then we ride there for a while. So with this shift taking place, this beatitude has real meaning for us today. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Now, this idea of having peace and making peace is not new. We see it on the grand scale. More and more individuals are talking about being at peace with the world, the earth itself. And many people believe that if we would strive for that, that all the various forms of peace would take care of themselves. That with all the violence that we are doing to one another and not being aware about how that's impacting our world is having a significant impact. And in particular, we can see this in the areas of climate change. How our decisions and our use of violence is hurting and creating a lack of peace between ourselves and the earth. There are other individuals who have in the past and continue to strive for world peace. They are willing to ignore those who say that's an impossibility. So they continue to strive for that. They continue to work for world peace because they believe that eventually, as human beings, we will come together, and as nations, we will come together and set aside our differences and work for a common good. There are other individuals who say, well, we can never have peace on that large of a scale if we're not willing to step back and do it at a smaller area. And that smaller area could be within many people call their circles of life. Having a sense of peace with your neighbors, with those that you work with, those that you, in your spiritual community that you belong to. And for some people, just having a sense of peace within your own family. So many individuals say that before we could ever have peace with the earth and peace as nations, we have to be able to have peace with those that surround us. But ultimately, and I would agree with those individuals who say that any form of external peace cannot exist unless first and foremost we have a sense of inner peace, where we're comfortable with ourselves, that we're at peace with who we are, not only all the aspects of our personality and character, but also our relationship to other people. And so they would argue that before there can ever be any form of external peace, we've got to look within oneself. And some people believe that the reason why we are not at peace with ourselves is because we are not at peace with God. And if we could somehow become at peace with God, then we could be at peace within ourselves and then in turn with those around us. That's why this text in Colossians chapter 1 verse 20 is so important to some people. It says, and again, it says, and through Jesus, God came to reconcile all things to God's self by making peace through the blood of his cross. Through him, whether things on earth or things in heaven. So many people will use texts such as these for the argument that the reason why we lack this inner peace is because we need to be reconciled with God. That there is this separation, there is this division between us and God. Many denominations refer to that as original sin. It's not something necessarily that you do. It's just a state of being that you arrived here on this planet with. That you are separate from God because of a story that happened thousands of years ago. And that created this separation, this chasm between you and God. And the only way to have that restored is through Jesus Christ having died for your sins. And so to be a peacemaker is to be restored to your relationship with Jesus. And then to go out and restore other people to God. So to be a peacemaker is first and foremost about the spiritual. That is an idea that today I'm not quite comfortable with. I have difficulties with this idea of original sin and that somehow we are separate from God and that some kind of reconciliation needs to take place. Many times I wonder if the reason why, if there is any chasm between us and God, it's because of the way that we understand God. It's the image that we have of God, a picture that we have of God, a view of God, that down deep inside is one that perhaps we're uncomfortable with. A relationship that may be even built upon fear, a sense of anxiety. Am I right with God? So ultimately, when I die, I end up on the right side of the scales. But I wonder if the real core to inner peace can be found in one of the teachings of Jesus, where Jesus in the Gospel of John prays for people to be one. Let me explain. As human beings, we have a wide variety of emotions. Our emotions can come and go randomly. We really, let's be honest, we don't have a lot of control when those emotions come. They just happen to us. Where we do have a say is what we do with those emotions. And so, for example, if you feel anger, or if you even feel a stronger form of anger, and it manifests itself in hatred toward other people, if you feel that inside, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just simply who we are. But the challenge comes is when you hold on to that emotion, when you grasp onto it, and you allow it to fester inside of yourself. And rather than realizing that it's kind of like a wave at the ocean, that it will come, it will crash, and then the tide will take it and it will ebb back out. But instead, when we feel that anger, we hold on to it. And we allow our thoughts to become invested in that emotion. And it becomes a part of us, and it takes away our inner peace. There are emotions that will rob you of your inner peace. And you get to decide how you're going to deal with those emotions. That's part of what it means to be a human being. But just as there are emotions that can take and force us out of this sense of inner peace, there are also emotions that can foster a sense of inner peace. There are emotions that come up that if we allow them to be there, and if we sit with those emotions, it can actually create a deeper sense of well-being within ourselves, and then in turn with other people. And one of the most powerful emotions that you and I have as part of what it means to be a human being is compassion. The vast majority of mammals depend upon another being for their well-being. It's called mothers. It is the mother typically who provides care and affection for this newborn, and let's say, for example, a newborn child. Studies have shown again and again that when children are raised in an atmosphere where there is care for them, where their needs are met, where there's a sense of affection, that they grow up with a greater sense of who they are inside, a greater sense of self. And so when they receive compassion from other people, that manifests itself, and they begin to feel that for themselves. And it creates that inner peace. But unfortunately, what happens as mammals age, they are not as easily receptive to affection and care. And over time, we realize that being aggressive might actually work better to get what we want at the end. And so instead of having compassion and affection and care for other people, we may in turn begin to feel this sense of aggression. It's so easy to explain why children on a playground will bully each other. Because it's their way of establishing what they want. And rather than being kind to one another, they find that if they're aggressive toward another person, if they can use perhaps even a little bit of violence toward another person, they may get what they want quicker. One of the devices that we have so readily available to us as a form of aggression is the horn. You know, the one on your car. I find it fascinating that I ask myself, as I listen to someone honk their horn, I ask myself, how aggressive might they be feeling right now? There are some people that all they do is just tap it. It's a way of warning other people, hey, I'm here. But then there's other people that something happens and their hand just literally gets stuck there. And the horn just blasts and blasts. And you wonder if it becomes a way in which people have this lack of inner peace, this aggression that they're manifesting toward other people. And we find that as a society, we have walked away over time as we age from what it is we really need. Each and every one of you, doesn't matter how old or young you are, enjoy feeling affection from other people. A kind word, a touch, a hug, to know that someone cares about you. It enhances how we see ourselves and the quality of our life. And we need that. And when we realize that other people need that, it begins to change. One individual in particular captures this idea. Dr. Susan Smalley says the following: "The evolution of peaceful behavior seems to go against our biology as human beings. With metabiological experiences, such as self-transcendence." What does that mean? Self-transcendence is the ability to be able to move beyond yourself. Instead of just focusing upon what it is you want, what it is you need, you're able to transcend and think about other people. You become aware of other people. You begin to identify with other people. She goes on to say, such as self-transcendence, the arbitrary nature of the self as separate from others is brought into awareness. In an individualistic society, it is so easy to see yourself as distinct from everyone else. And what's most important in your life tends to be very self-focused. But she says occasionally we have these transcendent moments where we realize that we are far more than just one person. She goes on and it says, in these experiences, the dependent nature of humans to one another and the planet are brought into consciousness. You realize you need other people. You need other people in different degrees in your life. Not only to survive, someone to make sure that the electricity gets to your house, someone that will be there at the pharmacy to fill your prescriptions. Not only for that, but for your inner self, you need to feel like you belong, that there's other people in your life that care about you. Here's where I find it fascinating. Actions stemming from self-transcendent understanding are bound to be ones of non-violence. When you see yourself connected to other people, intertwined with other people, we tend to be non-violent. Why? Because hurting another human being is like hurting oneself. From this awareness of our dependent nature, compassion arises, and compassionate decision-making is a guiding principle of peace. Now, that's fascinating that Dr. Smalley came up with this. But I look in the Gospels, and I realize that there were other individuals who had this same understanding. And one of them was Jesus. And so when the writers of the Gospels were telling the stories about Jesus, they included ideas such as, when you do it unto the least of one of these, you do it unto me. Jesus tells a story about on the judgment where he says, when I was hungry, you didn't give me anything to eat. When I was thirsty, you didn't give me anything to drink. And the response is, well, Jesus, we never saw you. We never saw you in prison and visited you. And Jesus says, what you do to others, you've done to me. I think Jesus saw this sense of interdependence, this sense that we all are in this together. And when you feel that, it brings compassion out of you. Because to be compassionate to another person is really to be compassionate to yourself. Paul talked about this idea when he said that humanity is a lot like a human body. And that there are parts of it, and each and every one of you are a part of this body of humanity. And before you think too highly of yourself, realize that the smallest part of your body is just as necessary as the part that tends to get all the attention. The ancients understood that as human beings, we are on this journey together. And when we grasp that sense of compassion actually grows. And that feeling of inner peace becomes more and more rooted into who we are. Think about that. The next time you find yourself becoming impatient or angry or perhaps even violent toward another person, science and Jesus would tell us it's like doing the same thing to yourself. And that's again why many people believe that if we are ever going to have peace with the earth, peace with nations, among nations, peace within the circles that of our life, we first have to find a sense of inner peace within ourselves. Blessed are the peacemakers. For that's what it means to be a child of God. That's what it means to be a follower of the life of Jesus. May you this week find that connection, and may you allow a sense of deep peace within yourself so that you can be more compassionate to all those that you come in contact with.
us to console.
To be understood as to understand.
To be loved as to love, for it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying. We are born to
What does it mean to feel? Thinking about our feelings in a time in our space, in our world, where we're not really given that space or that time to feel. Oftentimes we confuse our feelings with what we're doing. How are you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. That's awesome. But busy isn't a feeling. I hope busy isn't a feeling. So what does it mean to feel peace? What does it mean to give peace? So for today's prayer, of course, I'm going to borrow a little bit of science, a little bit of therapy, a little bit of antiquity, and ask you to just sit with where you are today and look at one part of your body, in particular your hands. And as you look at your hands, just rub them. How do they demonstrate peace? Do you give peace signs? Do you shake hands? Do you bow? What do your hands say about peace? Do you find peace in your hands? And if not, what does that mean? So we're going to spend just about a minute in silence as you rub your hands, as you look at your hands, as you touch them, as you send energy to them. And then I'll have you join me in prayer. So wherever you are, take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and just be. God of love and peace, help us to become people of love and peace. Guide us back to your way where we begin to love ourselves, starting with our hands. Guide us back to your way to where we can learn to love each other. To see and treat each other as equals, to care for each other wherever we come from, however we choose to live our lives. Dear Creator, please teach us once again to love, to embody tu eres mi otro yo. You are the other me. Hear our prayers, heal our souls. Help and keep hope alive as we pray to you today, tonight, and tomorrow. It is in your name we pray. Amen.
Church, we're going to have the opportunity to continue to use our hands to bring peace, joy, love, and faith into our hearts and share it with this community as we bring up Allison Kaysen, our ASL interpreter, who is going to take us through a recap of I've Got Peace Like a River. We did this last month really quickly for another one of the Beatitudes series, and Allison is back in person this time, and she will take us through the signing for this song. Allison?
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. Hello. It's so nice to see everyone. So before I get into it, I just want to give another little reminder about American Sign Language. So just something to keep in mind, English is really fun because they like to use a lot of metaphors and talk, and especially like church language. So it makes interpreting it, you get a bit more freedom with it, because when we look at a song like I've Got Peace Like a River, I'm not envisioning like a river. You have to look at the entire song as a whole. What is the meaning behind the words, kind of a thing. So some of the signs that I teach you guys absolutely match up to the English words. Some of them don't. That's just something to keep in mind, because ASL is visual and it's conceptual, and we have a bit more leeway with how we can interpret and show these signs through song. Okay, so let's just get right to it. So the song we're going to be doing today is called Peace Like a River. And the first line of it goes, and don't worry, I'm going to go through all the signs with you, and we're going to do it a few times so you feel comfortable. So the first line says, I've got peace like a river. Now, the sign for I is you're going to take your dominant hand, your pointer finger, okay? There, perfect. You guys are great. It's yep, just I. And we're not going to do the sign for got. There is one, but it doesn't fit here. So we're going to do have, and that is your two flat hands, okay? Keep your fingers together. Okay, and here's what you're going to do. You're just going to, you have them, and you bring them in, and they kind of hit right here, like by your armpits a little bit. So you have it. It's not like, it doesn't start out here. So how this looks in execution is, I have, okay? I have. And each one of the verses that we're going to do today all start with I have. So that's I have. Okay, and the next line says, I've got peace like a river. Okay, so let's do it again. I have, and then the sign for peace. It's a little hard to do this with the mic here. I'll do it like this. Okay, so you're going to take your flat hands, and they kind of come up like an X, a little bit in front of your body, and then you bring it down, just like that. That's beautiful. Yes, so I've got peace. Perfect. You guys are doing so well. So the next part, like a river. So watch me. I've got peace like a river. There you go. Okay. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. So the sign for soul is just your flat dominant hand, and it just kind of you cup it a little bit and it comes inward to right about your chest plate right here. Okay, so let's go through that one more time before we move on to the next verse, okay? Ready? I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Oh, you guys are doing great. That's beautiful. Okay, and so we're going to move on to the next verse, which is I've got joy like a fountain. So again, we're going to start off with I have, and the sign for joy is you're going to take your two hands and you're going to bring them up in like little like circles almost on your chest. Yeah, you do touch your chest. It's not super hard. It's kind of light. And so that's the sign for joy. And let me show you what we're going to use for joy like a fountain. So the sign for a water fountain is like that with like the pretty fingers. So we're going to use that and incorporate it into the sign for joy. So it's going to look something like this. I've got joy like a fountain. It's coming off of your body. You have so much joy. So let's try it again. I've got joy like a fountain. There you go, and you can make them big, and you can bring them down if you want. You can make it real pretty, because fountains are beautiful. So let's do it again. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. Perfect. You guys are doing great. So again, the soul, I'm going to show you from a couple different angles. So it looks like this. Okay. Just like that. Okay. So the next verse says, I have got love like an ocean. So again, we're going to start with I have, and then this is the sign for love. So this is what we're going to do for love. I've got love, and then take your two hands, make your I love you hands. Perfect, okay. Keep that in mind, so you're going to go and bring them into you, okay? They start out here, and you bring them into your body, okay? Or I'll step aside real quick and just kind of show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's run through it together. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Okay, let's run through it again. You guys are doing great. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Beautiful. Okay, so the last one says, I've got faith like an thank you, like an anchor. Excuse me. Okay, so again, we're going to start with I have, and the sign for faith is just, it's a teeny little bit tricky. Not tricky, it's just kind of hard to execute quickly. So give yourself some grace if you feel like you're not doing it right, because it was a little hard for me when I first started learning. So the sign for faith is you start with your dominant pointer finger, you tap, and then you very quickly bring it into two letter Fs, okay? It's a very fast movement, okay? Faith. You almost don't even see that when you do it. When I was doing the video, I had to kind of like pause and remember, to break that down. But so it's a very quick movement, okay? And then you've got your two F hands like this. They just go right on top of each other, just like that. Okay? Oh, sorry. Everybody good? Okay. Okay, so let's try running through it together. And then the like and anchor part is we're going to do this sign for mighty, okay? So that's going to be like this, okay? You've got your strength. Bring it down, okay? This is a sign for mighty because it comes from God, who is always on our left. So that's why we bring it down from the left. Perfect. You guys are doing so good. Okay, so let's run through it together. Okay. I've got faith like an anchor. Yep. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor in my soul. Great, let's do it one more time. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor in my soul. You guys are doing so good, and just follow along with me, and just it'll be fine.
I've got peace. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got faith. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor in my soul. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor. I've got faith like an anchor in my soul. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you again for your presence. And those of you who are with us live, we again appreciate you making the time to come here and be with us. Those of you who are watching us either live or perhaps you're watching this at a later time, you will find us here on Sunday mornings at 10:30, and you are welcome to join us. Or if you want to join us early at Mano Dia on the first and third Sundays, that is at 8:30. As you leave this place, I invite you to receive this blessing. May you be blessed with a sense of serenity to accept all the various emotions that will pass through your body and in your mind. I think it's very unrealistic that we're going to have this state of Zen all the time. All the emotions we have are a gift to you. So to acknowledge them and to let them pass through, may you find a sense of serenity for whatever it is you're feeling in life. But then may you also be blessed with a sense of courage to be able to foster those emotions about how you feel about yourself and how you feel toward other people. And then may you be blessed with a spirit of love. Because when you are at peace and you've learned to love and accept yourself, then you will be at peace with those around you, and you will be able to effectively make love real for another human being. Amen.